Appeals Court has now revived a lawsuit filed by comedian Eric André accusing Clayton County Police of racial profiling at the airport. André claims his Fourth Amendment rights were violated in 2021 when police stopped and searched him before he boarded his plane.
During a recent interview with People, the comic 41 recalled one summer in New York City when he was so low on cash that he was homeless. "I would go up on stage and ask people if I could sleep at their house," he says.
2 years ago, Jesse Eisenberg calls me.
No, he was going to ask you to be in that movie?
And offered me the role that Kieran Culkin got the Oscar for. Won an Oscar for the role I passed on.
What everyone ignored about Eric André isn't just his comedy or chaos. It's the darker truth behind it all.
Right? I would either stay up all night and sleep in the park during the day, or get drunk and sleep in the park at night.
From sleeping in parks and begging audience members for a place to crash, to suing a Georgia police department for racial profiling, André's story is nothing like the jokes he tells on TV.
In a new opinion, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals just found André has a valid claim that Clayton County subjected him to unreasonable search and seizure.
Behind the Eric André Show's madness lies years of struggle, injury, controversy, and defiance. This is the real story, the darkest secrets the world chose to overlook.
A little bit about myself. I am bluish, I am black and Jewish. My dad looks like Arthur Ashe and my mom looks like Howard Stern.
Before the fame, before the wild talk show and celebrity pranks, Eric André was just another broke comedian trying to survive in New York City. Born on April 4th, 1983, in Boca Raton, Florida, André grew up as a creative kid who never quite fit in. He studied double bass at Berklee College of Music, graduating in 2005. But his real dream wasn't in jazz, it was in making people laugh. When he moved to New York, things got rough fast. André has openly talked about being broke and homeless during those early years. He'd perform at small comedy clubs, sometimes earning less than the cost of his subway ride. On certain nights, he'd ask audience members if he could crash at their homes after the show. When that failed, he'd sleep in city parks, just hoping to stay safe until sunrise.
Sleeping on couches, I would do stand-up at night and ask the audience if I could sleep over and sleep.
He worked odd jobs to keep going. Anything from dog daycare shifts to passing out flyers on the street. Most comedians quit after a few years of rejection, but André didn't. He was the kind of performer who would bomb on stage, then return the next night to bomb again, just to figure out what went wrong. That stubborn energy would later define his entire career. By 2009, he started catching attention on small comedy circuits. His style was part chaos, part shock, part anti-humor confused people at first. Crowds didn't know whether to laugh or walk out, but slowly the industry noticed his raw originality.
Cops is like, "You're under arrest, you old crackhead!" Boom! Jamaica man, come downtown. Rastafari, welcome to the island of Jamaica.
That led to small acting roles, like guest spots on Curb Your Enthusiasm and Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. But his real break came in 2012, when Adult Swim took a gamble on a talk show idea that sounded insane on paper, a chaotic parody of late-night television, full of pranks, explosions, and uncomfortable interviews. That show became The Eric André Show. And from its first episode, it broke every rule in comedy. Chairs smashed, walls collapsed, guests stormed off. It was raw, unpredictable, and often painful to watch, but it was unlike anything else on TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Eric André Show!
The show's low-budget look was part of the plan. André wanted it to feel real, uncomfortable, and unrehearsed like chaos bottled for television. Each episode pushed boundaries further, blurring the line between performance and breakdown. But behind the screaming, smashed sets and destroyed furniture was a man still haunted by those early years of struggle. André once said the chaos on his show was the chaos he lived through when no one believed in him. By the time the show gained a cult following, André had already transformed into a new kind of comedian, one who thrived on discomfort, who made pain funny, and who refused to filter himself for Hollywood.
Season 6, Eric André is back for an explosive.
The boy who once begged for a couch to sleep on had built his own stage, one made of fire, glass, and absolute madness. And yet, what the world didn't see coming was that his biggest battles weren't with Hollywood or the network. They were still ahead of him in courtrooms, airports, and his own mind. When the Eric André Show hit Adult Swim in 2012, it didn't just break the internet, it broke every rule in late-night TV. Eric André flipped the entire concept upside down. Guests weren't comfortable, interviews weren't predictable, and nothing was ever safe. Behind the laughter, though, was real pain. André wasn't just destroying props, he was getting seriously hurt. In one episode, he dove headfirst into his desk and cracked it in half, not realizing the wood wasn't fake. He ended up with bruised ribs. Another time, he tried to jump through a wall that hadn't been pre-cut and hit solid drywall. The show's producers had to stop filming for a week.
I was trying to build a building up. No.
For André, the chaos wasn't an act, it was his artistic language. He once said, "If I don't hurt myself a little, it doesn't feel real." His set became a war zone of humor and injury. He'd set off fireworks indoors, smash furniture, even spray his guests with food or fake vomit. One of his most famous guests, T.I., didn't find it funny. During the 2020 season, André invited the rapper for what was supposed to be a harmless prank. When T.I. realized he was being tricked, the tension exploded. T.I. later walked off the set, and online fans replayed the clip a million times.
What's going on? Why you ain't got 2 seats in the joint?
Is this a thing I don't...
Hey, why not just make a rap song that just goes, ah!
It wasn't the first time things got heated. In earlier seasons, guests like Lauren Conrad and Flavor Flav left mid-interview. Some called it disrespectful. Others said it was genius-level anti-comedy. Either way, it made André one of the most talked-about figures on Adult Swim. The public chaos came with private exhaustion. André admitted in interviews that the show's extreme nature took a toll on his mental health. He was constantly injured, emotionally drained, and overwhelmed by the unpredictability he'd created. During Season 5, he dropped 20 pounds for a gag involving a full-body makeover, only to gain it all back after shooting.
It's torturous. It's torture. It's hell for everybody.
I'm scared of nothing. I'll do a shot of this right now.
Still, André's madness made him a cult icon. Fans started calling him the punk rock David Letterman. Memes spread everywhere, from him yelling, "Let me in!" outside the White House gates to destroying his set every episode. Each clip felt like an explosion of raw, unfiltered comedy. Even people who didn't get the jokes couldn't stop watching. The Eric André Show wasn't about interviews. It was about pushing limits, testing comfort zones, and seeing how far chaos could go before someone yelled, "Cut."
I feel like you're pulling back, but I need you to press forward.
By the time the show reached its 5th season in 2020, André had changed TV comedy forever. What started as a low-budget experiment turned into one of the most unpredictable and injury-filled shows in television history. Yet, as his fame grew, so did the controversy. While Eric André's pain on camera was intentional, what happened off-camera, especially with police, airports, and the law, was something he never planned for. Next, the legal battles that followed, where the chaos left the stage and hit the real world.
Actors and comedians Eric André and Clayton English have filed a lawsuit against Clayton County, Georgia, accusing the county's police department of racial profiling and coercive stops.
In April 2021, Eric André wasn't filming a prank, a sketch, or a wild TV segment. He was just a comedian catching a flight at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. But what happened that day would become one of the biggest real-life controversies of his career. As André prepared to board his flight, 2 police officers suddenly approached him. They asked to search his bags for drugs. André, caught off guard, said no. The officers pressed again, and he realized something wasn't right. Later, he described it as a random stop that felt like racial profiling.
I was the only person of color on the jet bridge. They singled me out. They asked me if I was selling drugs, transporting drugs, what kind of...
The incident made headlines across the country. André claimed he was the only black passenger pulled aside. The police department denied wrongdoing, saying it was a voluntary encounter. But for André, it wasn't about legality, it was about humiliation. He took action. In 2022, Eric André filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Atlanta and Clayton County officers, accusing them of racial profiling and unlawful search. He said the experience wasn't just uncomfortable, it was traumatic.
I was the only person of color on the jet bridge. They singled me out.
The lawsuit revealed shocking details. According to court records, hundreds of similar stops had been made by the same airport drug unit, with over 56% involving black passengers. Most resulted in no arrests, no evidence, and no drugs found. Fans rallied behind André online. Fellow comedians like Tiffany Haddish and Kevin Hart voiced support, while legal analysts debated whether the stop violated André's rights. In 2023, after 2 years of legal back and forth, André announced a settlement with the city of Atlanta. He didn't disclose the amount, but made it clear he wasn't backing down quietly. He also pushed for reforms to end random passenger searches.
Interrogating you, the whole experience was traumatizing. I felt belittled. I want to use my resources and my platform to bring national attention to this incident so that it stops.
The airport lawsuit wasn't André's first run-in with law enforcement. In 2016, during filming of The Eric André Show, he was briefly detained in Louisiana after a prank went wrong. Dressed as a deranged preacher, André ran through the streets yelling nonsense, only to get handcuffed by confused officers. The footage was later released in the show, but the tension was real. Even though charges were dropped, that moment blurred the line between performance and danger. Fans loved the shock value, but critics said André's stunts pushed too far, often putting himself and sometimes others in risky situations. After the Atlanta case, André became more outspoken about civil rights and systemic injustice. He used his platform not just for jokes, but for awareness, a new side of him the public wasn't used to seeing. For years, his fame had been built on breaking rules. Now, he was facing the consequences of a world that didn't follow its own. Even as André fought in court, more controversies began circling his personal life, from explosive relationship drama to public backlash over jokes that went too far. Next, the scandals that blurred the line between real life, relationships, and reputation. When it comes to relationships, Eric André has never been shy, and sometimes that honesty turned into controversy. Over the years, his love life became as unpredictable as his comedy. Fans remember his brief but very public relationship with actress Rosario Dawson in 2017. The two went viral after posting a Valentine's Day photo that many thought was a joke, but it wasn't.
I read in the paper you were dating Rosario Dawson, the actress, and I went, holy fuck. And at first I thought it was like maybe another prank, but it was a real
I know people
relationship.
didn't believe it.
I didn't believe it.
I was like, come on, I finally get these bragging rights.
People loved the unexpected pairing, but when they broke up later that year, André said it ended amicably. Yet that wasn't the end of public fascination with his romantic life. In 2023, he dated model Emily Ratajkowski briefly. Their fling, filled with paparazzi photos and cryptic posts, lasted just a few weeks. André later said it wasn't serious, calling it a fun moment that the internet made way bigger than it was. But backlash came when fans accused him of using relationships for publicity. Social media comments were brutal, some saying André's chaotic comedian image made it hard for people to take him seriously in personal matters. Others thought the relationships humanized him, showing a softer side behind the wild showman persona. Off stage, André dealt with something heavier. In interviews with Vice and People, he opened up about struggling with anxiety. Despite his loud stage image, he described himself as an anxious guy who overthinks everything.
I don't mean like...
Before I started going to therapy, I was a mess. Early 20s. My anxiety, but I didn't even know how tangled it was in like what mental health and physical health. And
therapy and meditation became part of his routine, something fans didn't expect from the man famous for smashing desks and screaming on live TV. While managing his mental health, his words on sexuality and identity stirred a different storm. In a 2016 interview, he made a controversial statement, which he later clarified as a joke about freedom and identity. Still, many felt he crossed a line. The debate grew online about whether comedians should be held accountable for outrageous statements. André defended himself, saying comedy should never be censored. Critics said his jokes blurred the line between provocation and disrespect, while supporters said he was just being André. In interviews, he never apologized outright. Instead, he doubled down, saying, "The world takes itself too seriously. My job is to mess with that." By the 5th season, André admitted he was physically and mentally drained. Injuries piled up from stunts gone wrong. He suffered a concussion after being slammed through a shelf by WWE's John Cena during filming.
John Cena did the stunt right, but we prepped for the stunt wrong, and that metal shelf came over and clocked me in the head, and I got concussed. And I went to the hospital.
You did?
Yes.
How long after the show did you go to the hospital?
Between controversial interviews, short-lived romances, and public criticism, André was living in the middle of chaos he had once staged for laughs. Next, how Bad Trip and the Eric André Show exposed a darker side of entertainment, and why André says he made no money from his most successful film.
Good for me.
No. Oh my God, turn it off!
When Bad Trip dropped on Netflix in 2021, it looked like Eric André had finally reached the next level of fame. The film, a mix of hidden camera pranks and scripted comedy, followed André and Lil Rel Howery on a cross-country trip. It had all the chaos fans loved: public stunts, unsuspecting people, and jaw-dropping reactions. The movie went viral. Millions streamed it, shared it across TikTok, and critics compared it to Borat and Jackass, calling it one of the most outrageous comedies ever released. Behind the success, André revealed few expectations. He didn't make a dime. In a 2023 interview, he said the financial deal didn't benefit him directly. The movie had been sold before theatrical release, and after streaming rights and production fees, André said, "I didn't make any money."
Really loved that movie. You know I
man.
did.
Thank you.
How did it end up doing for you financially? Like what did
Financially,
you put?
nothing, but
The revelation sparked discussions about how Hollywood treats creators, especially comedians known for non-traditional formats. Despite risking his body and reputation, André received little financial reward. This was one reason he returned for Season 6 of The Eric André Show in 2023. He said bluntly, "I had to pay rent. I had to work."
we don't lie. We don't lie.
To get them on, yes you do.
We bend the truth.
The film itself drew heavy criticism. One prank in a black-owned barbershop ended with a man chasing André and Howery with a knife. Though the scene was real and the man later laughed, some critics accused André of exploiting everyday people, especially black communities, for laughs. The Los Angeles Times wrote the humor sometimes crossed ethical lines, while others defended it as necessary risk in shock comedy. André stayed quiet but hinted the backlash didn't surprise him. "If you try to please everyone," he said, "you'll please no one." Even longtime fans noticed the change. The once carefree prankster now looked worn out in interviews, speaking less about chaos and more about survival, how Hollywood could build you up and strip you down in the same breath. Filming Bad Trip took years across multiple states, risking arrests, lawsuits, and injuries. When the streaming deal went through, the system, not the artists, profited most. By the time The Eric André Show returned, the tone had changed. He was sharper, darker, more self-aware. Every sketch carried a layer of frustration underneath absurdity. The fame, the risks, and the criticism had caught up. André once said the show was therapy disguised as chaos, but even therapy couldn't keep the exhaustion away. Next, how a random airport stop turned into a major civil rights case, and why André's fight with law enforcement could change airport policing forever. April 2021. Eric André was traveling through Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. What was supposed to be a routine trip turned into one of the most defining moments of his life. Two plainclothes officers from Clayton County Police stopped him. They claimed to be conducting a routine drug search. André said there was nothing routine about it.
I was the only person of color on the jet bridge. They singled me out. They asked me if I was selling drugs, transporting drugs, what kind.
The officers blocked the boarding tunnel and questioned him about drugs. André said they made him feel cornered and targeted. Fellow comedian Clayton English revealed he had gone through the exact same thing months earlier. That's when both men decided to fight back. In October 2022, André and English filed a federal lawsuit against Clayton County, accusing the police department of a racially biased drug interdiction program. Backed by the Policing Project at NYU School of Law, the lawsuit alleged officers stopped mostly black passengers, searched them without probable cause, and violated Fourth Amendment rights.
The whole experience was traumatizing. I felt belittled. I want to use my resources and my platform to bring national attention to this incident so that it stops.
The case gained national attention. Civil rights organizations, journalists, and travelers shared stories. Fans posted messages. If they can do this to Eric André, imagine what happens to regular people. In September 2023, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Georgia dismissed the case, granting qualified immunity to the officers. André appealed in January 2024 to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. Months later, on August 18, 2025, the court reinstated the case, ruling the plaintiffs plausibly alleged Fourth Amendment violations. For André, this was a victory beyond comedy, fame, or personal justice. It exposed a system using intimidation and fear against people of color. In August 2024, another run-in occurred at Melbourne Airport, Australia, where André alleged he was singled out again. He used his platform to warn travelers of color and called for transparency in airport policing. André's fight became part of a larger conversation about race, law enforcement, and accountability. His federal court battle turned him into an unlikely civil rights figure in modern entertainment. Even as the case heads toward trial in late 2025, the implications are massive. A ruling in André's favor could change airport search practices across the U.S., limiting racial profiling and protecting millions. After decades of being the wildest man in comedy, Eric André now faces a legal war that could change American policing forever.